Hello, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to Sonia's Real Estate Connection and Hot Topics. All things real estate on this channel. Welcome to another session of Tip Tuesday. Tip Tuesdays are special segments of the real estate show where I will share with you and highlight professional tips and pointers to assist with your real estate and business practices. And once again, thank you for tuning in to this new episode of Tip Tuesday. Another segment of Sonia's Real Estate Connection and Hot Topics. Glad you could join with us on today. We have an exciting show for you today because we are talking about the proper way to address a potential client or customer at the initial or preliminary meeting. Many of today's consumers are shopping online for services and products. So their initial impression of you may be through your online presence or social media presence. No surprises there, right? So they might Google you or pull up your social media content and websites to do a little background research on you, such as Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Now, if you have a website, that's great. They will check out your website. If you don't have a website, that's okay. But I would strongly suggest that you invest in a website if and when you can. Why? Well, a website is kind of like a place setter that lets everyone know that you are serious about your business and you take your business and your clients seriously. And it also portrays to potential customers that you are a real and legitimate business and a real professional. So if and when you can, try to invest in a website for your business. So let's say for the purposes of this session that a potential customer found you online and they reached out to you for additional information regarding your services. They give you a call and you reply back in a reasonable amount of time. And then you set up a face-to-face meeting or an initial introductory meeting with them in person. Awesome. You passed the first test of impressing them over the phone. And so now they want to meet with you in person. Great. Now, before you go to the meeting, you want to make sure that you have all of their contact information so that you can address them appropriately. At the very minimum, you should have their first and last name, phone number, and email address. Now, if they initially reached out to you via phone, then at least you should have a phone number, right? And first and last name, preferably first and last name. Now, if they reached out to you via email, then you want to include the email address in your new contact card or contact list. So if you're setting up a new contact in your phone, then again, at the very minimum, you should have a first and last name, preferably first and last name, and phone number to reach them at. Now, sometimes they may not give you a last name. They may just give you a first name. They may just call and leave their first name. And sometimes they forget to leave a name. I've had messages where people have called and left messages and they forget to leave a name. Sometimes they even forget to leave a phone number. And so I have to go back through the caller ID and just call back the number because, mind you, they may have called 10, 15, 20 different people. So, for instance, in my situation where I'm listing properties for sale and for rent, they're calling 10, 20 different people, especially for the rental properties, and so I'm calling back, hey, someone called from this number about a rental space for lease, apartment for lease, and they're like, oh yeah, which one was this? I called about 20 of them. So then you have to remind them, about which property or which product or service they're calling about because they may have called 5, 10, 15, 20 different people. So and sometimes they don't leave a name. Again, I have to kind of call back and say, hey, someone called from this number concerning this property or this ad. Oh yeah, which one was this? Oh yeah, my name is so and so, and you go from there. But hopefully they leave a name for you to call and a phone number for you to call back. If they're sending an email, then that's even better because you got their email address and you got some contact information to correspond and communicate with. But if it's a phone call, hopefully they leave the appropriate information for you to reach back out to them accordingly. So again, hopefully you have a name that you can refer to them by, and if not, make sure to capture all of that relevant information at the meeting. Now, when you first meet with them in person, you want to smile and then extend a nice, firm handshake. Introduce yourself and make sure to make good eye contact. Always make good eye contact with them, and again, smile. Now, if you're meeting them for the first time, ask how they pronounce their name, because nothing is worse than mispronouncing or butchering someone's name, especially if they have somewhat of a difficult name to pronounce, or if it's a unique pronunciation and you're not quite sure of how to correctly pronounce it. Just go ahead and ask. Don't be afraid. They should actually appreciate it that you're asking. And again, ask them, how do you pronounce your name, and then repeat it back to them to confirm that you heard them correctly and that you got it right. So, because again, nothing is worse than saying someone's name wrong. It's like nails scratching across a chalkboard. Right? You don't want to hear that. No. So always just ask. And, and I always like to go the extra mile. I like to ask their permission, such as, may I call you by your first name? Or, is it okay if I call you by your first name? And, if they say it's okay, then you may proceed to call them by their first name. However, if they give you no direction, or if you're not sure, then it's always best to be on the safe side and, just address them by their last name until they tell you otherwise. So in that case, I would just go ahead and call them by their last name, Mr. Johnson, Miss Johnson. Hi, it's nice to meet you. And then again, go ahead and ask, is it okay if I call you by your first name? Or do you have a preference? And let them give you direction on how they wish to be addressed. Why? It empowers them, and it shows respect, it shows concern, it shows that you're a professional, and it shows that you care about the little things, and again, that you respect them as a person. And in business, little things mean a lot, and they go a long way. Now, I'll tell you, I'm all about customer service. Listen, I will drive an extra mile or two to go to the other side of town or the other side of the neighborhood, if it means better customer service or quality customer service. Seriously, you might laugh, but seriously, I will drive out of my way. I'll go an extra distance across town or whatever to another store or a different grocery store or whatever, where I need to go, if it means having a better customer service experience. Because why should I spend my hard-earned dollars at an establishment where, I'm not respected? Why should I spend my money with someone who doesn't show me any respect or concern, or someone who doesn't treat me in a decent and professional manner? And the potential customer or the potential client, they could be thinking the same way. They could be thinking the same thing. Why would they want to spend their time and money with a business or a so-called professional who doesn't show them any respect, who doesn't treat them with decency? They will take their dollars elsewhere, and they will spend their money elsewhere. They will take their business elsewhere. So again, it's all about respect and treating people with kindness, courtesy, dignity, and respect. And those little things mean a lot. So how you address them, that means a lot, especially at the initial meeting. Because as the saying goes, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Let me say that again. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. First impressions are everything. All right. So one more time, you will never get a second chance to make a first impression. So just to recap, at the initial meeting with a potential customer or client, smile. Smile when you greet them. Extend a warm but firm handshake. Introduce yourself and your company, your position with the company if it's appropriate. Give them your business card. And then ask them how they want to be addressed. First name or last name. And then listen. Listen very carefully. Do more listening than talking. I've always heard that, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Because we should do more listening than talking. We should do twice as much listening than talking. That's very important, folks. So again, listen. It's very important to listen to their needs, their wants. Listen to what they're asking for. What are they asking of you? What are their expectations? Very important to listen. And then at the end of the meeting, you want to thank them and provide a brief recap or next steps. So again, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting with you. I look forward to our next meeting, or, if you're going to send them a written proposal, then tell them I'll have that written proposal to you, by Monday or by Friday, or, whatever the deadline is, or whatever you just have discussed at the meeting, and then make sure that you follow through accordingly. Well, folks, that concludes the discussion for today regarding the topic of how do you introduce and address a potential client at the initial business meeting. And I hope that you enjoy the information for our special segment of Tip Tuesday. I trust that you found this information to be useful and of value. As always, I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Sonia's Real Estate Connection and Hot Topics in the new Tip Tuesday session, where I aim to bring you professional tips on Tuesdays. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Sonia's Real Estate Connection and Hot Topics. Until we meet again, make it a great day, and may you always be safe, healthy, and be well. God bless.